In a way, all teachings are signposts. And you don't need to even identify with any particular form of teaching. There can be certain traps on the spiritual path to identify with one particular form in which a teaching comes. And then it's, okay, I'm a Buddhist. And the other says, well, I'm a Sufi. And the other says, well, I'm a Zen Buddhist and you are Theravada. Zen is actually superior. And so, again, images come in and they can be obstacles when you identify. Ego on the spiritual path can creep in at any stage. So to look out. Now, ego means an image, a new image has formed again in your mind of who you are. Ego, is a very subtle thing you can observe in yourself. Comparison. Ego likes to compare itself. Comparison is an ego device. So ego compares itself to others in a subtle way. And whenever ego is, the feeling of inferiority or superiority arises as against others. Both the feeling of, okay, I may not be as good as that person, or as knowledgeable, or as spiritual as that person, that's ego, or feeling I'm more spiritual than that person, I've been practicing for longer, or my tradition is better than that person's, then that's the superior ego coming in. Even to have an image of yourself as spiritual, that the ego goes into that. Trying to live according to an image in your head, trying to be spiritual, to see yourself as spiritual, that's another ego trap. And then you become more unconscious in a way. Ego means unconsciousness has returned, and despite your meditation practice, then you find there are lots of things that, if you have an image of yourself as spiritual, then there are lots of things you have to deny that arise inside you, and that would be, if you looked at them openly, they would be telling you, oh no, you're not that spiritual. You have to push them aside. Anger, whatever comes up, if it no longer fits your self-image, you push it aside, and then it goes building up momentum like a boiling kettle, a boiling pot. You have put the lid on, and the steam is building up, and then suddenly you get an outburst or a wave of depression. In Christianity, often they have tried to live according to what it's like to be a good Christian, trying hard, and anything that doesn't fit the self-image of me as a good Christian has to be pushed aside. And then you can't push it aside forever. At some point, the unconscious will again emerge and overwhelm you. As rage, as anxiety, as depression, a mood, dark mood suddenly coming in. And so presence is to live free of self-images, because that's mind. It's conditioning. Free of needing some image to tell you who you are. You don't really need that. And this is why I said you learn from animals. Although animals have no self-image. They are themselves. They act naturally, spontaneously, or rather life acts through them. They have, of course, their limitations of their particular form, and yet they are more deeply connected to the source than humans in their normal state. So That again, that's why it's so helpful to learn to watch an animal. It doesn't live through a self-image. It is itself. It's the natural state. And what we are returning to is the natural, that's in India, they sometimes use that expression, the natural state that humans lost a long time ago. So that's wonderful. You're returning to that. So simply observe when some new self-image has formed or some old self-image has returned. Look. So often be aware of comparison. Comparison as an ego device. In a subtle way, you're feeling better than or not as good as. There's the ego. Better than, not as good as. Another sign that you're living through a self-image is defensiveness. Defensiveness arises when somebody questions your beliefs, questions a statement that you've made, doubts this or that you associate with your self-image. So observe defensiveness coming in. And you're always defending an image, because who you truly are doesn't need any defense. It's so powerful, it cannot be attacked, it's totally beyond anything that could be injured or attacked in any way. It doesn't need any defenses. So observing when it happens, when you observe it, you're no longer trapped in that unconscious movement. When you observe that an image has arisen in your mind and you've become identified with that, at that moment, that's the unconditioned has come in. You're suddenly aware of it. When you're observing that you've become defensive about a position you have taken, may even be something spiritual, my mental position, you've identified with a position, which means an image has formed in your mind of me, and that needs to be defended. Therefore, the Course in Miracles says, it has some wonderful statements, whenever you become defensive about anything, know that you have identified yourself with an illusion. Whenever you become defensive about anything, know that you have identified yourself with an illusion. The whole essence of Zen consists in walking along the razor's edge of now. To be so utterly, so completely present that no problem, no suffering, nothing that is not who you are in your essence can survive in you. In the now, in the absence of time, all your problems dissolve. Suffering needs time. It cannot survive in the now. The great Zen master Rinzai, in order to take his students' attention away from time, would often raise his finger and slowly ask, "What at this moment is lacking?" A powerful question that does not require an answer on the level of the mind. It is designed to take your attention deeply into the now. A similar question in the Zen tradition is this: if not now, when? Sufis have a saying, "The Sufi is the son of time present." And Rumi, the great poet and teacher of Sufism, declares, "Past and future veil God from our sight. Burn up both of them with fire." Time is what keeps the light from reaching us. There is no greater obstacle to God than time. With the timeless dimension comes a different kind of knowing, one that does not kill the spirit that lives within every creature and everything. A knowing that does not destroy the sacredness and mystery of life, but contains a deep love and reverence for all that is. A knowing of which the mind knows nothing. The mind cannot know the tree. It can only know facts or information about the tree. My mind cannot know you, only labels, judgments, facts and opinions about you. Being alone knows directly. There is a place for mind and mind knowledge. It is in the practical realm of day-to-day living. However, when it takes over all aspects of your life, including your relationships with other human beings and with nature, it becomes a monstrous parasite that, unchecked, may well end up killing all life on the planet and finally itself by killing its host. You have had a glimpse of how the timeless can transform your perceptions. But an experience is not enough, no matter how beautiful or profound. What is needed and what we are concerned with is a permanent shift in consciousness. So break the old pattern of present moment denial and present moment resistance. Make it your practice to withdraw attention from past and future whenever they are not needed. Step out of the time dimension as much as possible in everyday life. If you find it hard to enter the now directly, start by observing the habitual tendency of your mind to want to escape from the now. You will observe that the future is usually imagined as either better or worse than the present. If the imagined future is better, it gives you hope or pleasurable anticipation. If it is worse, it creates anxiety. Both are illusory. Through self-observation, more presence comes into your life automatically. The moment you realize you are not present, you are present. Whenever you are able to observe your mind, you are no longer trapped in it. Another factor has come in, something that is not of the mind, the witnessing presence. Don't judge or analyze what you observe. Watch the thought, feel the emotion, observe the reaction. Don't make a personal problem out of them. You will then feel something more powerful than any of those things that you observe, the still observing presence itself behind the content of your mind, the silent watcher. Intense presence is needed when certain situations trigger a reaction with a strong emotional charge, such as when your self-image is threatened, a challenge comes into your life that triggers fear, things go wrong, or an emotional complex from the past is brought up. In those instances, the tendency is for you to become unconscious. The reaction or emotion takes you over, you become it. You act it out, you justify, make wrong, attack, defend. Except that it isn't you, it's the reactive pattern, the mind in its habitual survival mode. Identification with the mind gives it more energy. Observation of the mind withdraws energy from it. Identification with the mind creates more time. Observation of the mind opens up the dimension of the timeless. The energy that is withdrawn from the mind turns into presence. Once you can feel what it means to be present, it becomes much easier to simply choose to step out of the time dimension whenever time is not needed for practical purposes and move more deeply into the now.